Welcome to today's Explainer, everyone. So glad you're joining me. Today, we're diving into this really fascinating analysis exploring something I think we all deal with, a deeply universal human experience. We're talking about that massive gap between our super passionate, fiery promises and, well, our often fragile reality. I mean, have you ever made a rock-solid commitment, fully intending to keep it, only to watch it totally crumble? We're going to unpack exactly why that happens, and more importantly, what we can actually do about it. We'll be looking at some incredible insights drawn right out of ancient texts and some really powerful musical lyrics. So let's jump right in. So, why do our resolutions always seem to collapse? I want you to genuinely think about a time you passionately made a promise. Maybe it was to yourself, maybe to God, or maybe to someone you love. You meant every single word of it, right? You were pumped up, filled with motivation. But then barely any time passes and you fail completely. It's such a frustrating universal cycle. Every new year, every Monday morning, we tell ourselves, okay, this time I'm going to do better. And yet our willpower just constantly betrays us. To really understand why, we've got to look at how we're actually holding on to these promises. There's this line from our source lyrics that paints just a perfect, beginner-friendly analogy, and it really gets straight to the core of the problem. Relying on our own willpower, it's exactly like trying to tightly grip dry sand. Think about it. The harder you squeeze your hands together, the faster that sand slips right through your fingers. We somehow think that by applying more emotional force or just sheer willpower, we can hold on to our promises. But human resolve is just, by its very nature, loose. It's shifting. It literally cannot hold its shape when the pressure's on. And honestly, this isn't a new problem. Let's look at how this pattern is played out historically. It is wild how far back this goes. There's this classic showdown in the ancient texts, specifically the book of Joshua, chapter 24. The Israelites boldly declare, "We will certainly serve the Lord." They're so confident, they're highly emotional, completely ready to go. But listen to how Joshua, their leader, responds. He gives them this incredibly sobering, realistic warning. He basically says, you aren't actually able to serve the Lord. He knew. He knew their human strength was exactly like that dry sand. They were out there writing checks with their mouths that their human capacity simply could not cash. Now, fast forward hundreds of years, and we see this exact same pattern repeating flawlessly in the New Testament. You've got Peter, one of Jesus' closest followers, making this massive, bold declaration. Even if all fall away, I will not. It's literally the exact same overconfidence we just saw with the Israelites. But Jesus responds with perfect divine foresight. He tells him, "Today you will disown me 3 times." Jesus totally knew Peter's heart was sincere, but he also knew that relying on sheer human willpower, that's just a guaranteed recipe for collapse. So the crucial takeaway here is this fascinating narrative irony we keep seeing across the sources. Whenever there's a human-centric declaration of willpower, the big "I will," it almost inevitably ends in failure. When the spotlight is on human effort, the human stage just collapses. But the contrast, that's what these texts are really pointing us toward. The divine He did. While our resolutions break into pieces, the realities established by God stand completely firm. It's a fundamental shift, really. A shift from obsessing over our own performance to resting in a completed reality outside of ourselves. Listen to these famous words Jesus spoke in the Garden of Gethsemane. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And he's not saying this to mock his followers at all. He's actually saying it with deep, deep empathy. It's the ultimate diagnosis of the human condition. Our hearts genuinely want to be faithful. Our spirits really, truly want to keep those promises. But our flesh, our human capacity, our mental and physical endurance, it's fundamentally exhausted. It's weak. We absolutely need a totally different source of power. And that right there brings us to the ultimate theological solution to our broken resolutions: God's covenantal faithfulness. Now, this is a huge concept. What it means is that God's faithfulness relies entirely on His own unchangeable character, not our track record. Because let's be honest, if the deal depended on us keeping our promises perfectly, the contract would be voided on day one, right? But covenantal faithfulness means God keeps His end of the bargain, and honestly our end too, completely independent of our flawed performance. Let's break this down into a simple, everyday analogy so it really clicks. Imagine you're trying to power your entire house. Trying to live your life by relying on your own human resolve. That's like trying to run your whole house on a single dying AA battery. Sure, the lights might flicker for a second, but it's going to run out fast. On the flip side, relying on God's covenantal faithfulness is like taking that house and plugging it straight into the eternal power grid. The power source is infinite, it never fluctuates, and it definitely doesn't depend on how much energy the house can generate on its own. When we actually compare these two realities side by side, The contrast is just staggering. Human resolve is temporary. It's highly emotional, mostly driven by exactly how we feel in any given moment. It's incredibly fragile, and ultimately, it's just dust. God's grace, though, it's eternal. It is relentlessly faithful. It's completely unshakable. It is solid stone. And once you really see this contrast, it becomes kind of absurd to keep betting all your chips on your own willpower, doesn't it? Okay, I absolutely love this next connection. It is a brilliant piece of theological architecture from our sources. So in the Old Testament, Joshua sets up this massive physical stone under an oak tree. It's meant to be a silent, unmoving witness against the Israelites' empty promises. Then jump to the New Testament and Jesus chooses Peter, a guy whose very name literally means the rock. But here's the catch. Peter's self-reliance had to completely shatter before he could stop being this fragile pebble of human willpower and actually become a foundational rock and true witness to God's grace. The stone always, always testifies to grace, never human strength. Which brilliantly brings us to the central paradox of everything we're exploring today. Please don't miss this. Human failure is not the end of the story. In fact, it is the exact entry point for God's grace. Think about it. As long as you think you can do it on your own, your hands are basically too full of yourself to receive anything else. It is the precise moment when your resolve collapses, the moment you realize you're just holding dry sand, that the channel finally opens up for you to experience true grace and salvation. Your failure isn't a barrier, it's literally the doorway. Our source lyrics capture this feeling perfectly. My will is dust, your love is stone, unshaken throne, I'm not my own. Man, there's just so much freedom in that realization. Admitting that your will is just dust, it's not meant to be depressing at all. It's actually incredibly liberating. It means you finally get to stop pretending. You get to step off the exhausting treadmill of self-improvement and just rest. Rest fully on the solid, unyielding stone of his love. You belong to him, not to your own fleeting successes or failures. Section, Relying on Grace Daily. Okay, so practically speaking, how do we actually unplug from our dying battery and plug into this eternal grid when our daily motivation inevitably wavers? Well, here's a roadmap. Step 1. When you fail, just stop making bigger, louder promises. Just acknowledge your weakness. Admit that the sand slipped through your fingers again. Step 2. Shift your focus. Stop staring in the rearview mirror at your past failures and start meditating on the cross. It's the ultimate symbol of that eternal power grid of grace. And step 3, pray. But don't pray for better willpower. Pray specifically for his strength to carry you. Because remember, it's all about substitution, not self-improvement. This really ties directly into that famous proverb, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In the context of our explainer today, our own understanding deeply includes our completely false confidence in our own willpower. It's that flawed logic that keeps whispering, hey, I can definitely do it this time if I just try harder. Leaning on him means actively, intentionally abandoning that self-reliance. It means leaning all of your weight onto his covenantal faithfulness instead. As we bring this journey to a close, this really summarizes the ultimate takeaway from all our sources. From the Israelites standing nervously before Joshua, to Peter weeping in the courtyard, all the way to you and me sitting here right now. Our only genuine hope has never ever been our ability to keep a promise. Our hope is built entirely, exclusively on Christ's finished work on the cross, his blood, his righteousness, by grace alone. It's a finished reality, and you simply get to step right into it. I want you to think about the exact place where your resolve recently broke. That exact spot where you felt ashamed, maybe frustrated, or just totally defeated. Right there, in that pile of dust, are you ready to stop making empty promises? Are you ready to finally let go of the sand? To drop the illusion that you're in control and truly encounter the Lord's grace? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer today. Let that question sit with you for a bit, and I really hope you embrace the freedom of resting on the stone.